Well, it's September 25th, and Lorraine and I are down here in Des Moines and very excited to begin our first day of training. And that's going to be with Ivan Gutzman. We're going to be talking about a variety of power options, shore power, generators, inverters, etc. And then several of the systems on board, the AC, the freshwater system, water heaters, and some thoughts on winterizing the boat. We start our tour in the cockpit. Ivan points out the battery switch hatch. We open that up and you can see two big red switches that have various positions from off to 1 plus 2. The upper one controls the engine starter batteries, which we had 2 lead acid engine batteries on board. And then the bottom switch controls the house and generator batteries. And we have 2 lithium house batteries, 280 amp hours each, for a total of 560 amp hours. Moving from the cockpit into the cabin, we're going to go through the shore power connection procedure. We'll start by turning off all the breakers on the electrical panel, and then we'll go back outside. We'll connect the shore power cable to the boat, and then to the dock pedestal, and then turn on the dock pedestal breaker. Back inside the boat on the panel, a couple of things we're going to switch on. The ELCI, that's a equipment leakage current interrupter. Make sure there's no current leaking into the water from the boat. Then we turn on our shore power breaker, the inverter breaker, or more properly in this case, the inverter bypass breaker. And then we'll go into the inverter panel located on the entryway to the guest berth and verify that the inverter is in bypass mode, that we're using shore power rather than battery power. The shore power light should be green, and we should be seeing about 120 volts on the panel. When using generator power, similar to what we did with the shore power, we turn off all the breakers on the panel, turn the shore power breaker off, and then turn that slide up to expose the generator breaker. Turn that on, and turn on the inverter bypass breaker. We also want to make sure all the breakers are off when we stop or start either shore power or generator power, just to make sure that there's no sudden change in the load from all off to all on. Okay, so to start the generator, we press and hold preheat for 10 seconds, and then while we're continuing to hold that, I'll hold the start button till we hear the sound of the generator starting up, and we watch the oil pressure rise, and then we can release the start and hold the preheat until the oil pressure gets up to at least 20 psi, and then we can release the preheat. We'll go to the back of the boat and the port side and verify that the cooling water is exiting at the stern, and also we'll verify when we look at the inverter controller panel that is indeed in bypass mode, meaning that we're not using battery power, we're using generator power, or in the shore power instance, using shore power. The generator itself is located in the starboard lazarette. Ivan showed us a number of pieces on this generator, where to find the oil dipstick and how to change the oil and check the oil. I found the dipstick a little bit hard to seat properly, so verify if you do check the oil that it is firmly seated. There's also a breaker on this device, so if there isn't producing power, you could also check that. There's a similar set of stop and start preheat buttons in this box itself that are right on the generator, in addition to the remote control versions located on the side wall on the staircase leading down to the guest berth. The fuel tank for the generator is located in the very back of the engine compartment. When using the generator, it's a good idea to verify we have water exiting the port side at the stern. When we want AC power, but we don't want to run the generator and we're not on shore power, we can use our inverter to provide AC power to the functions that are available, circled in the yellow there on the left side of the electrical panel, and those are AC outlets, TV, the microwave, and the air conditioner in the master suite. So to do that, we turn off all the breakers, we turn on the inverter breaker, and then we press the power button on the inverter display panel, which we'll talk about in a couple of slides, to verify the status is all green. The inverter itself is located under the steps to the command bridge. Opening up that hatch, you can see the 3,000 watt inverter located against the wall there, and it also has a large red controlling switch with an off and an on function. The inverter display panel is located on the wall at the entryway to the guest cabin. It's turned on automatically when shore power or generator power is selected. It has to be turned on manually when you're using the inverter as a AC conversion from batteries. When you look at the panel, you can see there are two lights at the left-hand side. If the top one is orange, the status light, then you are using the inverter as an inverter, basically converting 12-volt battery power into 120-volt AC power. When both of the lights are green, then the inverter is in bypass mode, and in that case, you're either using shore or generator power. And so you can select different displays using the select button. Also to be noted, if we use shore power or generator power and this panel turns off, it doesn't automatically turn off. So if you're at anchor and you're not using the inverter, you might still be drawing some power just because the inverter panel is on. So you want to press the power button to turn that off if it's not needed. To keep our batteries topped up, we have a battery charger. It's located in the starboard engine hatch near the back. Works with either the shore power or generator. It charges both the house and starter batteries. You engage that with the battery charger breaker, and obviously one of the other two, shore power generator, will have to be on in order for this to be working. We have a number of 12-volt systems on the boat. Basically anything that doesn't have a breaker on the electrical panel runs off of 12 volts. Some things have both AC operation and DC operation, such as the refrigerators in the galley. But the things that run off at 12 volts are the listed here: refrigerators, the pumps, the Garmin electronics, et cetera, et cetera. And then the Volvo Penta controls run off of the engine batteries, and so those have to be on in order for the ignition and throttles and joystick controls to be operational. To keep our batteries topped up, when we're not using shore power or our generator, we have two solar panels that are located on the top side behind the dinghy. On a sunny mid-morning, we saw 20 volts and 7 amps from these guys. The controller for the solar panels is located under the sink in the guest berth. On the R43, solar panel is used to only provide power to the house bank. And then when you're looking at the solar panel controller, then you've got a green light indicating that it's on, but not if it's solid green, it's not producing current, maybe because it's too early to get enough sunlight. And when it's flashing green, then it is producing current. When we're underway, the engine alternators on our twin Volvo IPS 450 engines each have an alternator that produces quite a bit of current, and those will charge both the house and the engine batteries. We have two monitoring apps that are on my iPhone that keep track of the electrical situation on the boat. Something that's an option was to install a Sensar marine system, which we did, and it monitors voltage, temperature, bilge pump activity, water level, has a geofence feature where after 15 minutes the system sets its location as the center of the geofence, and then it has a 150-yard radius circle. So if the boat moves outside of that circle, it sends a text message to you. And then we have the Victron Connect app, which is included with the boat, and it measures battery status, state of charge, voltages on the house and engine batteries. The R43 comes with 3 of these Webasto air conditioning units that have reverse cycle heat, which means you can not only air condition, cool down the boat, but you can also warm it up. So to operate these units, the first thing you need to do is open up the seacocks in the engine compartment. The seacocks are highlighted in the yellow box there. Once we verify that the seacocks are open, then we go back to the electrical panel and we'll turn on the AC relay breaker. Then we'll turn on the AC breaker for whichever of the units, the master, the guest, or the galley that we want to operate. And then we go to the control panel for that unit. For the galley, it happens to be on the wall over the steps going down to the guest berth. And then one push on the panel activates it, and then the second push to select the mode and turn on the pump. And finally, to verify that the pumps are working, we can open up the engine hatch and verify that seawater is swirling in the strainers. Or more easily, we can look to the side of the boat and verify water is coming out the side. The galley unit exits on the port side, and the master and the guest units, which share the same pump, larger, exit on the starboard side. So we've already talked about the seawater strainers and the seacocks. A couple other things here. The saltwater pumps for the air conditioners are located under the metal floor in the engine hatch just after this picture. Because of the metal floor, I couldn't really get a good image of those. But a couple other items in here. There's the toilet pump and the washdown pump. And also there are 2 bilge pumps, a small and a larger unit that are located here as well. Moving back to the control panel. So as I mentioned before, you press the power button once, turns on the control panel, and then once more you can select the mode, heating or cooling or fan only, and then that also starts the pump and the unit operations. So the modes are snowflake symbol for cool, sunshine symbol for heat, and then I'm not sure what that thing in the middle is, the little bucket, but that is fan only. And you can set the fan to high, medium, or low. And then once you have the temperature display, you can go up or down. Arrows will take you to the, you can set it to whatever temperature you want. To turn the units off, press the power button once if the display is lit, and then if the display is gone to sleep, then you have to push it once to turn the display back on, and then hit the button again to turn it off. And then give them a minute or two to spit out that last little bit of water that's in them before you turn off the breakers. The R43 has a 100-gallon freshwater tank and a 20-gallon water heater for a total of 120 gallons of fresh water on board. The freshwater pump is Jabsco V-Flow 5.0, and I was very impressed with how quiet that was. So I think it's a variable speed on-demand pump. Very nice compared to R27, which has always seemed like it was pretty noisy. The level of water in the freshwater tank is shown on a gauge located on the galley. The water heater is electric, so it needs to be plugged into an outlet in order to operate if you aren't running the engines. But there's also, as the engine coolant hot water exchange system on the diesel motors also runs through the tank on the outside to heat the water inside the tank. So when you're running the engines, that will heat up the water inside the hot water tank. There is one blackwater holding tank that services both the master and the guest heads. It holds 57 gallons. It's located in a panel on the floor in the master suite. The holding tank, you can check it visually by just shining a light on the top of the tank and just seeing what the level is. But there's also 2 sensors that are located, a yellow for half full and a red for full or getting close to full. One of those sets of sensors communicates to the guest head and the other to the master suite. And they, on the flush button, there's a couple of lights that will illuminate when yellow for half full and red for full. The macerator pump is located in that same hatchway, and the valve that controls the outflow from the macerator pump, which is normally zip tied closed to conform to regulations, but if you need to use it, you can open that valve and then that'll exit overboard. The shower will drain into this area. There's a shower bilge pump and in the forward area here as well. One of the options that Ranger Tug offers is to install diesel heaters on the R43. We found that the air conditioning units do a great job of heating, but if you want to be at anchor and just not use your electric power, then these are a good option. We actually, in fact, did go ahead and order these. So we have 2 heaters on the boat. There's one in the guest cabin and one in the master suite. Each have their own controller, like the one that most people are used to. There's also a really cool app that connects to these and has features that you can control with your smartphone. The diesel heaters themselves draw fuel from the forward diesel tank. The filters and fuel pump for the heaters are located behind the wall panel at the end of the guest berth. I've noticed, and this is the same for the other one, is that about every 30 days you get these flashing red lights on the controller indicating that they'd like to be run for routine maintenance. We talked a bit about our winterizing process, and for the R27 I basically used the air compressor, attached that to the water pump side and blew all the water out of the lines, and I'll do the same thing with the R43. And then emptied the freshwater tank, emptied the water heater. I don't think I'm going to empty the freshwater tank here because we left the R27 cold over the winter without any heat, but I'm going to put heaters in the engine compartment, in the galley area, and in the master bedroom. We'll talk about those a little bit later. The engine compartment heater, run a cord through a little access port that connects between the engine and underneath the floor of the galley, and then that can plug into the same outlet that the water heater plugs into. So drain the water heater, unplug that, plug in the engine compartment heater into that same outlet, make sure the water heater breaker is on so that outlet is energized. That'll take care of the engine compartment side. Then in the salon area and the master suite, each of those have their own West Marine and what looks like an identical unit for a Cafrano True North heater in the salon. Both of these are set to the antifreeze setting, so supposedly they turn on at 38 degrees and then they turn off again at 55 degrees temperature. And finally, thanks to Ivan for a very instructive day, and for those of you watching all the way to the end, stay tuned for day 2. I should mention that these videos represent my recollection of our training and have not been blessed by Ranger Tugs. So while I believe the information to be accurate, please double check for yourselves. Also, if anyone has any questions or suggestions, please give me a shout in the comments section. Thank you.